Welcome to Satsang. We start as usual with a question that's come in advance from our global family who send in questions online. And then we open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. How to deal with feelings of being ignored and shut out. As human beings, we crave connection. From the time we're born, we're constantly looking and craving for connection. First, of course, with the parents, but then we continue to be looking for that connection with people around us. When we have it, we feel wonderful. When we're surrounded by people who love us and appreciate us and speak nicely to us and want to be with us, we feel fantastic. When we feel like suddenly they no longer do, suddenly we're being ignored, shut out. In today's social media lingo, we're being ghosted. Right? We suffer. The problem is that the solution to that yearning for connection is not actually in our social circle. With an active social circle, with people not ghosting us, with people being engaged and responsive and connected to us, we're able to ignore, deny, not experience the suffering of the lack of connection. But the truth is that it's not from our social circle that actually that deep connection comes. It's not from people online from whom that real connection comes. Which means that no matter how many friends we may have responding to us, inviting us to parties, going for meals, having us come to their weddings, liking our posts, it doesn't actually give us what that deep longing for connection is really about, which is connection with the divine. Connection with our true self, our higher self, that divinity within us. That's what the longing is. Our soul is infinite. It's using this body, it's here in this body for this particular go-around, this particular incarnation, but the soul is infinite. Now, when it's in this body, and when we identify in ignorance with this body, we suffer. We feel suffocated, and we're constantly trying to look for ways to expand. So we buy lots of things, We buy them and we feel like I have somehow expanded, like this was me before. Now look at me with all my shopping bags. I've expanded in some way. Or we eat. That sense of an overfull stomach filled with typically junk makes us feel expanded. Now, these are obviously not ways that actually get us back in touch with the truth of who we are as that expansive, infinite soul. But when we don't know any better, that's what we do. We're just looking for ways to again feel the truth of the soul, to again feel that expansive self. One of the ways is shopping. One of the ways is eating. And one very big way is by filling our lives with lots of people. See, if I feel connected to them, then I feel like I've expanded. See, all of these people are now me. So I feel in some very superficial way like I've attained that which I'm looking for. Look at all my friends. Look at all the people who showed up at my party. Look at all my followers online. Look at how busy my social calendar is. I've expanded. I'm no longer this separate being over here. But all of these ways, whether it's shopping, whether it's food, whether it's the social connection, they're not actually addressing the core issue, which is I am not connected to the truth of my soul. I'm not connected to that expansive truth of myself. I'm not connected to my source, which is infinity, which is constant, infinite expansion, right? It sounds a bit paradoxical. If we're already infinite, how can we keep expanding? But it's true. We are infinite, and yet with our awareness, we actually keep having expanded consciousness. And that's actually what we're looking for on the deepest level. That sense of connection that we're deeply looking for is not with a social circle. It's with the capital S self, that truth of my own being. So there's nothing wrong with social circles. If you have them, wonderful, no problem, enjoy them. Friends are great, enjoy them. But recognize that when you feel, as the questioner asked, ignored, shut out, ghosted, not invited to the party, left out, the ache, the pain, the suffering that you experience is not actually due to that person. It's actually due to the fact that since that person is no longer connected with you in any meaningful way, you are again face to face with the true sense of disconnection, which actually is the source of your suffering, which is the sense of disconnection from yourself. And so rather than trying to figure out how to win them back, how to beg or plead or convince or manipulate or whatever it may be, instead of that, allow yourself to actually sit in that experience of feeling disconnected. And recognize that it's not about that friendship, but it's actually so much deeper. and to really feel that internal pain of separation, so that you can then find the right answer, which isn't begging that person to be your friend again, begging them to remember to invite you to the parties and not ignore you, but actually to reconnect with yourself, with the divine in yourself. And when you have that, then yeah, friends are a bonus. It's beautiful. We've got so much love in our heart. Why not share it? But the lack of someone to hang out with on Friday night or Saturday night, or the lack of people liking or commenting on your social media posts, or the lack of invitations to parties, no longer bothers you. Because you're so deeply anchored and connected to your source, to that expansive source, that you don't actually need anything or anyone from outside. So that's what to do when you feel shut out. Rediscover yourself as your own best friend. You know, we think that everyone should want to be our friend, meaning we must be a good person, a good friend. Otherwise, why would we think people would want to be our friends? Well, if we're such a good person to be friends with, that everyone should want to be our friend, why are we so uneager to be our own friends? If everyone else should want to spend time with us, why are we so uneager to spend time with ourselves? It's a very interesting question, because we feel so badly when we are alone. And yet, if we are half as good a friend as we would like others to think we are, or half as interesting a person as we'd like others to think we are, then we should really learn to enjoy our own company, to take ourselves up on the offer, to become our own best friend. So use this as an opportunity to become your own best friend, to find out really what is so great about you, that so many people love you, that so many people do want to be your friend. What is that beautiful aspect of you? Not just the infinite soul, but even you in this body, in this life, with your karmic journey and package. Are you a good listener? Are you funny? Do you have a good sense of humor? Are you compassionate? Are you wise? What are your qualities? Imagine that you had to write, a personal ad for, instead of an online dating app, imagine it was just an online Be My Friend app. What would you put in it? What would you say? Are you loyal? Are you sensitive? Are you empathetic? Find all of those qualities and then realize how fortunate you are, how blessed you are, to not only be able to offer yourself to others as a friend, but to be able to have yourself as your own best friend. So many of us live our entire lives never really getting to know ourselves. The infinite divine self for sure, but not even our individual here in this karmic incarnation self. We don't even get to know ourselves at all. So take this being ignored and shut out by someone else as an opportunity to go inward and find the one who will never ignore you, who will never shut you out, who has to take you to every party they're invited to, can't be separate from yourself, and make yourself your own best friend. But then also remember to actually go deeper into the experience of the real true self, that infinite source, so that you really deeply address that sense of longing for connection, that sense of longing to be expanded. Reconnect with your own expansive self, and you'll never long for anything else again. Certainly not someone who can't see the wisdom in staying connected with you. Other questions? Yes.
My question is, I really feel that the way to liberate our suffering in minds is the path of bhakti. So we really need to open the heart, and my way of living is like that, but sometimes we have these old samskaras coming, and we have to deal to circumstances which are difficult, and sometimes I feel that this heart is like closed on that moment. So how can we deal that way with these difficult moments in life?
Beautiful. So yeah, bhakti, path of devotion. That path of bhakti and love and devotion is such a powerful path, powerful way to connect to the divine, to connect to ourselves. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna emphasizes so much the gifts of bhakti. Through our Puranas, there's so much about that path of bhakti in our epics. So much about the path of bhakti. We're just given examples and teachings and mantras over and over again of that path of love. I mean, and we all know in our own lives the power of love, right? What happens when you fall in love? Everything changes. Everything changes. One day you are miserable. You hate your job. You hate your house. You hate the traffic you have to sit in from your house to your job. You're not interested in anything. You go out, you meet someone, you fall in love, and the next week, oh my God, you just love your life. Right? Your life has just become such a blessing. You love your house because the beloved spent the weekend here with you. And wherever you go, whatever room you go into, you remember being in that room with your beloved. You love the traffic on the way to work because as you sit in traffic, you get to talk on the phone to your beloved. Or you get to think about him or her. Suddenly, everything changes. That's why, in the office place or in school or in friends groups, somebody walks in who's smiling and beaming. And everyone says, someone had a nice weekend. Meaning, someone was with a loved one. And you can see it. We glow. So we know in just our own lives and just the example of being in love with another being, that power. And then you take it to the power of loving God and feeling God's love. It's exponential. Not just a quantitatively different experience, but a qualitatively different experience. It transforms our lives. Because then no matter what we experience, we are going through it with the beloved. And this is the key to keeping the heart open. Our hearts close when we feel somehow slighted. In a relationship, if my heart is really open to you, and then you do something, maybe even something really minor, that makes me feel a little hurt, a little bit like maybe you don't really understand me, or maybe I'm not really such a priority in your life, or maybe you don't really love me so much. Well, my heart suddenly closes to protect myself. Suddenly inside it says, oh, wait, it's not so safe to be totally open-hearted here because I don't think he necessarily understands me the way I thought he did. Or I don't think he necessarily loves me as much as I thought he did. So our heart closes to protect ourselves. And as we go through challenges in life, we start to feel like maybe God isn't there so much, right? There's sort of an implicit assumption that when I love God and I pray to God and I'm a good person on top of it, that the things that I want are going to happen and the things that I don't want aren't going to happen. And that I'm not going to suffer. I'm not going to experience loss or pain or illness or death. And so when we do experience those things, there's a natural sense that we've been sort of let down by God. That maybe God doesn't love us as much as we thought he did or she did. Or that maybe God isn't quite as powerful as we thought he or she was. We start to figure out ways to explain how this thing could have happened even though we've been loving God and we thought God loves us. And the only solution is to realize that God's not a vending machine. That God's not there in full love of you to give you what you think you want. God's not Santa Claus. Not up there, getting your lists and if you've been good, going to give you what you asked for. God is giving you that which is going to bring you closer to God. And in many cases, it's struggle. One of my most favorite moments in the Mahabharata, our great epic, is after the war. When, yes, you could say the Pandavas emerged victorious, but they had lost so much. Not just family members and gurus on the other side, but family members on their side, their own family. And Bhagwan Krishna says to Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas, he says, Kunti, you've lost so much, you've suffered so much, but through it all you've maintained such a grace. Ask anything of me. I want to give you something. Let me bless you and give you something. And Kunti says, lifetime after lifetime, give me suffering. Bhagwan Krishna says, but you've suffered so much. Why do you want suffering? And she says, because I noticed that in the times when everything was going great in my life, you seemed very far from me. I forgot about you. But in the times in my life when I suffered the most, you were right there with me. Through this war, through my suffering, every minute you were there. So give me suffering lifetime after lifetime, so that I always remember you, and so that I'm always close to you. And so sometimes when we get challenges and suffering, we have to realize it's not that God has forgotten or forsaken us. It's that actually this experience is that which is going to bring us closer to God. And so if you keep remembering that, it'll keep your heart open. Other questions?
Hello. I had a question that how to find your purpose in life.
The evergreen question. So, first of all, everyone's purpose is the same, which is to wake up, to remember who we are as divine, as soul, as these divine beings who were never born, who never die. You know, we know from science that energy can never be created or destroyed, right? Well, think of the soul as energy, as this powerful energy, divine energy. It can never be created. It can never be destroyed. It is. But the form that it takes changes. In the same way that, normal energy, what we would call not the divine energy, but just regular energy, that cannot be created or destroyed, it changes forms. Waves, energy waves, they change forms, they occupy different objects. But it can never be destroyed. That's who we are, that divine energy, embodied temporarily in this body. But the purpose of our life is self-realization, or God-realization, whatever you call it, it's the same thing. And that's where our practice, our meditation is always about recognizing that we are not the body, that we are not the stories, we are not our careers, we're not our bank accounts, we're not our prestige, we're not our place in society, we're not our possessions, but we are soul. We are divinity. That is everyone's purpose on earth. And as energy takes different forms and therefore performs different actions, you could say, in its different forms, so our soul, in different bodies, performs different duties, different karmic duties, different dharmas. We have, during the course of our life, different dharmas. Right? We have our student years, our brahmacharya dharma, brahmacharya ashram, our grihastha ashram, our vanprastha ashram, our sannyasa ashram. So we move through those. But even amidst that, each of us has our own individual dharmas. And that's something to be open to. You will come to know it. Everything in the universe knows what it is. A peach seed blossoms into a peach tree without a manual. It doesn't sit there and wonder, apples, oranges, the guy next to me is doing apples, the lady over here is doing oranges. It knows. I am peaches. How does it know? I don't know. But it knows. There's a wisdom in the universe. Caterpillars climb trees, weave cocoons, become butterflies. Earthworms don't. Millipedes don't. How does the creature with 100 legs know to climb the tree when the creature with 1,000 legs doesn't? There's a wisdom in the universe. The bird, here. You sure? Okay. The bird leaps off a building knowing it can fly. The dog doesn't leap off the building. It knows it can't fly. Again, how does it know? Couldn't tell you exactly, other than there is an intelligence in the universe. And it pervades every single aspect of creation. My favorite example of that is trees that grow sideways. Not these ones. But if you go into a dense forest, you'll see some trees that grow sideways. Most trees grow up. But ultimately, the tree needs to reach light in order to live. And sometimes in dense forests, the tree knows if I grow straight up, I won't get any light. And so she somehow knows to grow sideways, horizontal to the earth. Who taught her that? Who said, hey, by the way, you don't have to go up like everybody else, you can also go sideways? But she knew, my light is sideways, not up. If I go up like everyone else, I'm going to suffocate and die. So there's a wisdom. And you simply have to be open to it, because it's inconceivable to me that God would put that wisdom in a seed, in a caterpillar, but not in us. So it's there. But it's why we become quiet. It's why we meditate. It's why we pray. It's why we observe periods of silence. It's why we come to ashrams on retreat. It's so that we can hear that voice. To actually know. And then you follow it. And it may not be a voice for forever. It may not say, the next 60 years of your life are going to go like this. It may simply say, go here, now. Start this. Do that. Meet that person. Offer this. It may seem very small and subtle, but through answering it, you discover a whole new world opens. So just stay open. And in the meantime, follow what we would consider laws of universal dharma. Be compassionate. Be generous. Be sincere in fulfilling your duty. Be truthful. Right? This is what we would just call universal dharma. Help others as much as you can. Live simply so that others may simply live. And you just keep doing that until your individual expression of that comes knocking on your door. Like the sign to the caterpillar one day after God knows how many days of crawling on the ground, go up. Okay. You'll hear it. Just make sure that there's enough quiet and stillness inside to really listen. Beautiful. And lastly, when you do hear it, listen to it. A lot of us get that call, but we don't necessarily follow it because it's not in alignment with necessarily what the culture or society would say, or with making a lot of money. Or go with that inner wisdom. Go with that call. Have a beautiful rest of your evenings. A beautiful day to our family joining us from all over the world. And so much love to all of you.